So hi everyone, my name is Emily Baudier. I am a sales engineer at Facility Grid. And before joining Facility Grid, I worked at a global engineering firm where I supported commissioning across a range of projects in healthcare, aviation, etc. And I actually used Facility Grid during that time to help manage the commissioning process in the fields. So just a quick agenda. Today I'm going to walk you through a live demonstration of the Facility Grid platform and show how teams are using it to deliver projects more efficiently. Before we get started, just a couple quick housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and we will share the recording with you later this week. We'll also leave time at the end for questions, but feel free to drop anything into the chat as we go. So Facility Grid is a purpose-built platform for quality control and commissioning, and today it's used by over 90,000 users globally. It's available on both web and mobile devices, including offline functionality, so teams can stay productive whether they're in the office or out on site. And this slide is showing some customer feedback. And these quotes from a customer point to a fundamental problem in construction. And that is the lack of visibility and control over time-driven inefficiencies in the field. In many projects, wasted time doesn't show up clearly. It's not captured in change orders, and it's rarely tracked as a direct cost, like Chris Morgan from Wallbridge mentioned on an earlier presentation, but it exists in the form of repeated work, redundant inspections, and teams chasing down missing or unclear information. So the second quote from Chris illustrates an example of this. When hundreds of pieces of equipment require multiple check-ins and multiple team members are involved, even small inefficiencies can compound quickly. At standard labor rates, those extra hours scale into millions of dollars in hidden costs. For general contractors, this can become a significant issue, and these inefficiencies eat into already thin margins, can extend schedules, and create downstream risk across the project. Because the problem is often invisible, it's difficult to manage and even harder to prevent. So ultimately, the core issue is not just wasted time, it's the inability to see, measure, and eliminate it. And at a scale, that invisible inefficiency becomes one of the most expensive problems on a job site. So sticking with that theme today, I will go over a few common challenges that occur on construction projects. And today, most teams are managing asset readiness documentation and testing across disconnected tools, most commonly spreadsheets. As updates happen in different places, it becomes difficult to know which information is accurate. That lack of trust in the data forces teams to double check everything, repeat work, and spend time validating information that should already be clear. At the same time, project setup and reporting are highly manual processes. Teams are building trackers from scratch, updating statuses by hand, and constantly chasing inputs from different stakeholders. Because of this fragmented approach, readiness isn't visible in real time. Issues like missing documentation, incomplete installation, or failed pre-checks are often not discovered until testing days when teams are already mobilized on site. And that leads to rescheduling, delays, and added costs like we discussed. And on top of that, communication between the fields and office is often delayed, and the same data ends up being entered multiple times across systems, which slows down decision making and also increases the risk of errors. So I can speak from experience about how Facility Grid helps. It made a huge difference in how I managed projects day to day. Instead of walking into a site blind, I could check the dashboard ahead of time and know exactly what was going on, what equipment is ready and what isn't, and where issues might come up that day. That meant fewer surprises for my team and I, less last-minute scrambling, and no wasted time. And then everyone, the owner, GC, and trades, was involved and had full visibility into the project from checklist completion to issue status. and having everything centralized in one place allowed for a clear picture of system readiness, and there was no need to chase down information from different people. This also made reporting and handover much easier. I could quickly pull together documents, photos, and test results from a site visit day and package everything up without the usual hassle. So using Facility Grid took a lot of the stress out of understanding how a project was really progressing. And anyone who's worked on these construction projects knows that you may be wondering what you might walk into the next day on site or what could have been missed. And this real-time visibility that Facility Grid offers gets rid of that, wondering and sleepless nights that occur. All right. And then what stands out to me about Facility Grid is how it takes what can feel like a disjointed process and pulls everything into one place. So instead of teams working separately and trying to stay in sync, everyone is aligned and around the same information. And this leads to better communication, fewer gaps, and a much smoother and less stressful project experience. So now I'm going to walk through how Facility Grid solves the challenges we discussed. And with that, I will jump into the product. All right, so today I'm going to start by showing you aspects of Facility Grid that expedite project setup, which cuts down on admin time and allows your team to focus on the work. So to start, I'm currently inside of the project library inside of Facility Grid. We have a feature which allows you to save a template project to your project library. So if you can currently see in this template tab, I have a hospital project template. So this template project is not a live project, and you can utilize this to copy this template into new active projects, and this will get rid of that initial setup and allow you to get started almost immediately. So we have this on the right side. It's called Project Copy. So I can basically pull this template into a new project and keep the information from that template, and populate that directly into the new project. And we have a couple options here. So I can copy this entire project, which will include phase and task structure. So all my activities on that project. I can copy over equipment type information, or I can exclude some information, which can be I can exclude those equipment types or different checklists, etc. But if I do want all of that information, I can copy that entire project into an active project, right? Or I can just do the phase and task structure. So again, that'll allow me to pull over those activities into that new project without any additional information. So this is especially useful when working on projects with similar scope or in the same industry, and saves your team time when setting up those activities to be completed on a project. So again, there's different options for what you can pull over, but this really can save your team time on the setup end. So you can just pull in this template that you use across different projects. You already have checklists in there and equipment types, and you can go ahead and get started on the work. So now let's take a look at how easy it is to pull assets into Facility Grid. So I'm going to navigate to an empty project which I created. Again, this is in a demo environment, and this is called Rockwell Hospital. And I navigated to the Assets and Equipment tab. So I can upload all of my assets easily using an Excel import, and that's up at the top here. And this expedites project setup and allows me to make changes throughout the project. So let's go ahead and import an asset list that I have. I'm going to select that file, open it up. And this spreadsheet has all of our asset data and parameters, warranty information, and I can assign individual pieces of equipment to types and systems through this import as well. I can even link location and other important information. Just go ahead and click Next. And now we can see those mapping fields from the columns in the worksheet to the fields in Facility Grid. And like I mentioned, you can pull in all of your asset information, unit number, location, any additional dates you may want to track, as well as warranty maintenance information. Let's go ahead and import that. And then I will see if I want to ignore or insert a new location. I'm going to go ahead and insert a new location. And there we go. Our asset import is complete. And now you can see I have all of my different unit numbers, my equipment, my different types, and they're all linked to locations. So super easy for me to pull this information into facility grids that I can go ahead and get started. And then again, just to mention, you can include any custom parameters as needed. So all this information is pulled from your drawings, your specifications, and other relevant project documents. So now these assets are ready to be linked to inspections and tests. And if I navigate to my equipment type and go into my air handling unit, I'll show you how easy it is to pull in a test template. So for this example, I'm going to upload a checklist directly from my company library. So let's do an air handling unit pre-functional checklist. So Facility Grid allows you to store your test templates inside of a library that everyone in your company can access and pull into different projects in your portfolio. So you're able to save these templates, and this makes it easy to, upload these to different assets on new projects and just make any changes, save, and go ahead and start filling those out. So I'm going to apply this pre-functional checklist. And I can make any edits as needed. But again, now I have that checklist and I can save it, link it to my different assets, and we're ready to go. So this will link this checklist to all of my units that are underneath that equipment type. So just one upload, and I have 4 different checklists for all 4 of my air handling units. So this really simplifies that setup process. All right. So, and then just a little story. When I was working in commissioning, sometimes projects would bring commissioning on late during construction, and clients would want to start immediately. So this easy setup process with Facility Grid allowed me to be able to get equipment uploaded and checklists ready to be filled out by the trades very quickly and efficiently by using Facility Grid in the setup process. All right, so now I'm going to open a separate active project in the demo environment, and this is the Terabyte Data Center project. And I can access this project from my Watch Projects page, which allows me to easily navigate to my current and active projects. Let's go ahead and jump in. Facility Grid provides the visibility needed to stay informed and aligned, so there's access to live test statuses and a full record of readiness for my assets. And this ensures time is not wasted on site visits, discovering assets are not ready for testing. So again, assets are managed at the equipment level and are linked to an equipment type and/or a system. So if we jump into the equipment level, status updates appear immediately for my individual assets. There are live percent completion for my pre-functional checklist as well as my functional test, and clear indicators showing when an asset is ready to move on. So we can also see checklist sign-off status and whether there are any outstanding issues tied to that asset. And then if we want to do a filter just to manage all, let's say, my HVAC equipment, I can do that and view the statuses of all the HVAC assets in one window to get a clear picture of progress for my mechanical assets. Let's go ahead and jump into a specific asset. Today I'm going to jump into Air Handling Unit 4. So once we're in the equipment record, I can see, again, those dates that I pulled in, and we do generate QR codes for each of our assets that can be printed, pasted at the equipment in the field, and then scanned with a mobile device, and it'll bring you directly to this asset record, so you can get that update. So I know this asset or this unit is in my mechanical room 5, and it serves level 3 of this data center building. I can even see that it's fed from my chill water system, heating hot water system, and then feeds my air distribution systems. And then if I continue to go down, I have images, and then again, those parameters which we uploaded during that spreadsheet import, which can be broken down into different components like your cooling coils, heating coils, dampers, or even your fans, and I can, manage that data inside of the equipment type. So down at the bottom is where I can see in my subtask tab the true record of readiness for this asset. So I can see what's been done and what hasn't been done clearly by these statuses in this column. I can even see if documentation has been uploaded, if it's been reviewed or not yet uploaded, and then if there are any open issues. So it looks like for this air handling unit 4, we are currently completing the pre-functional checklist and it's behind schedule. And then there are a couple open issues for the startup and the pre-functional checklist activity as well. So I know exactly what's going on, and I know that this unit isn't ready to be functionally tested. And if I click into my Issues tab, I can dig into this a little bit more, see what's open, see what's closed. And then my checklist, I can get a live percent of where my pre-functional checklist is, so it's about 86% complete. So the pre-functional checklist is almost complete, and we may be ready for functional testing soon. Then, of course, this has not been started yet. And then I can see any documents that have been uploaded as well, and if they need to be reviewed or have been reviewed already. So with this feature, teams avoid having to scroll through spreadsheets, emails, and meeting minutes to manually determine whether that asset is ready for testing or if more time is needed before mobilizing a team to site. So again, when it comes time to confirm how ready an asset is for acceptance and turnover, Facility Grid provides that complete verified record, everything you need in one place to move forward with confidence. All right, so now I'm going to pivot into the mobile app. And we will discuss how Facility Grid's app helps eliminate two of the biggest field challenges, which is communication delays and duplicate data entry. So when trades are working on site, they do not have time to take notes, take separate photos, and then re-enter everything later back at the office. So I'm currently logged in as an electrical contractor on the same project Terabyte data center, and I can navigate to this home tab down at the bottom and see all the issues and checklists that are assigned to me. And when I'm able to open up and see, which checklists I have that need to be completed, as well as different issues that I need to respond to by attaching a photo directly from my phone. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a checklist example. Let's say I'm in the mechanical room and I am nearby my air handling unit 4. So let's open up this PFC that we saw was in progress. So if I go to the questionnaire, these questions aren't assigned to me, so I won't be able to answer them. But if we continue to scroll down, looks like this 5.117 question is assigned to me. So let's say that this has been, the electrical power to the device is not verified and there's an issue. I can answer that question as no, and then immediately create an issue directly at the question. So when I create that issue, it will copy over that asset information. It'll give me a description already that I can just enhance. And then I can upload any images that need to be attached to this directly from that device with opening the camera and snapping that photo. And once I upload this issue, it'll go straight into the issues log attached to that respective asset and checklist. And I can even access my issues assigned to me inside of the app as well. So I'm not going to save this example, but we can see, I can see as the electrical contractor what I need to respond to inside of the app. So the app really makes it easy for trades on site to navigate to what they need to complete and then know exactly, what needs to be done during those site days. All right, I'm going to go back into the cloud version. And we're going to jump into the closeout tracker. So let's go ahead and open up Terabyte Data Center again, and we'll open up the closeout tracker. So what's great about Facility Grid is it houses all of your asset data, documentation, and tests in one place and gives you live visibility into completion of your activities to ensure nothing is missed. So this is where the closeout tracker, which is a feature of our operational readiness platform, becomes incredibly powerful. So reporting and aggregating all this information can be time consuming without the help of Facility Grid, which rolls all of your project data up into this closeout tracker dashboard. And as the team completes checklists, logs issues, and uploads documents, the dashboard updates automatically. And this gives you a live view of what's actually happening in the field. So with the closeout tracker, you know the status of each asset throughout your project activities. Across the top are all of those activities. For this example, we have levels 1 through 5, data center commissioning, including installations, equipment startup, and then of course pre-functional checklist and functional testing as well. And then down the side, our systems are equipment. So for each one, it's easy to see what's completed, what's under review, and what's missing, and whether there are outstanding issues. So we'll see a clear status of if documentation has been uploaded or is required, and then if there are any open issues. So if a single asset is holding up a task or a phase, you can identify it immediately. So if I open up this air handling unit custom, I can focus on my level 3, which is where I'm currently at in this project. I can quickly see that, once my team returns to complete functional testing of air handling unit 4, which looks like it's been started, my other units look like they are progressing towards readiness for functional testing as well. And that level of visibility allows me to confidently plan those site visits for members of the project team without the risk of discovering equipment isn't ready and wasting time. So I can recall a time on a project where it was reported that all the assets were ready for functional testing and to plan a site visit for the commissioning team. Yet Facility Grid's visibility showed that the PFCs were not yet complete, and this gave the entire project team clear visibility into what was actually happening, ensuring everyone was on the same page. So one thing I want to mention before I answer questions is that you do have advanced filtering in the closeout tracker, which allow you to focus on what matters the most. So I can filter by my critical assets. So those are the assets that are important to me, which I want to see the statuses of without, that entire dashboard of all my assets. Or I can dig into documentation that's ready for review. So if I do this filter, I can see that my air handling unit has a few documents that have been uploaded and need to be reviewed. So I can make sure I close that gap before moving on. And then lastly, I can see tasks with open issues so that I know what's going on my project. Looks like we have a few open issues back in level 1, so we need to make sure those are addressed. And then additionally, in the current level 3, we do have issues as well. And I can even navigate this issue directly from the closeout tracker, which allows me to dig in, see if there's been any responses or updates. That's all for today. So again, by bringing everything into one place, this closeout tracker dashboard eliminates the time wasted chasing updates, tracking down issues, or second-guessing readiness, and gives you real-time clarity on equipment status and allows you to find problems early so there's no last-minute surprises. All right, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Thanks so much for joining today. Happy to answer any questions. And if I don't get to them today, we can reach out and get your questions answered. And then if this session sparked your interest, feel free to request a demo. We'd love to continue the conversation. All right, looks like there are no questions and we're coming up on time, but thanks again for joining and I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday.